Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back. Today I will be painting some more Dark Angels Horus Heresy models. So I have a Leviathan class Dreadnought, I have a Rhino, and I have a Tactical Squad. So because I'm going to be doing all of them in the same kind of general scheme, I decided, I'd just start doing them all together. Knock them all out. I'm going to be doing them in the same kind of scheme that I did this model here, this Contemptor Dreadnought. So yeah, the basic I guess process is to start with an airbrush and just get, let's see if I can pull it out here, this blue-gray color, Dark Reaper, and like a zenithal highlight kind of thing. Because I'm going for a dark teal armor. And then highlighting with Thunderhawk Blue and Fenrisian Gray. And this gets that dark blue-gray armor, and then come in with some Dark Angels green contrast paint, and it tints it all green. So yeah, I'm going to be starting with the airbrush and the Dark Reaper, and just going over all my minis at the same time to kind of knock some things out. If anyone has any questions, let me know. Also, I'm in a bit of a weird place because my monitor died yesterday. So actually, if someone could type something in chat real quick and let me know if like the music's okay, that'd be great. Alright. Just 1 second. I'm making sure everything's set up properly. Alright, it looks like my chat isn't working, so I'm gonna pull it up on my phone. RIP. This should all get fixed tomorrow, so I do apologize for it's a bit of a janky setup. Alright. Hey G-Wiz, how's it going? I'm sorry I didn't see your chat right away. As I said, I've been having some issues here. Alright. Now we can get to painting.
You're prepping for a barbecue? That sounds awesome. Sounds good. No worries. I appreciate you stopping by. A barbecue sounds exciting. Jeez, that sounds so good. Yeah, I love a good barbecue. Those are, and those sound like some good menu items too. Thank you for following, Noctis Lucas. I appreciate it. How's it going? Yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just be kind of explaining what I'm doing, saying whatever comes to mind. So right now, I'm just trying to get some. Oops. Of course, I stick my finger right in the fresh paint. I'm just trying to get some color on these minis. I'm following the same kind of rules as like Edge Pilot. So just kind of making sure that the shape of the tank is outlined by this dark blue-gray paint. Because I will be shading it, or tinting the color green. And so anything that's black will remain black. Whereas, yeah, this blue-gray will turn to kind of a dark teal, dark green type color. Be very careful here. And I ran out of paint. Alright. Alright, I'm actually just going to let the Rhino dry for a little bit. It's getting kind of hard to hold. I'm going to move on to my Tactical Marines here. Oops. I'm going to take off my watch here. So for the Tactical Marines, kind of the same idea, except there are more rounded surfaces. So we're just going to apply some color here, on the top of the head. On the legs. Having multiple points to kind of show off that it's a cylinder. Multiple reflection points. Alright. Alright, we're almost done with the tactical marines here. Well, I do need a little bit of a refill. That's okay though, because I also need to finish up the rhino. I realized that my previous coat that I did on the rest of the Tactical Marines was a bit light. I diluted the paint a little bit too much, which is okay. It just means that I have to go back and do another coat. Alright, now back to the Rhino here. Alright. Okay, the Leviathan class Dreadnought. Might need a few touch-ups, but I think I did a pretty good job on this guy in general. I think actually I'm going to do a bit of an extra gradient here. These flat top panels are looking a little boring. A little bit on the side too, maybe. Oops. Sorry if he goes off screen a little bit. It's hard to some of these bigger models, it's hard to maneuver them. But I'll try to keep an eye on it. Alright, I think that's looking pretty good. So now, I'm going to switch colors real quick. And do the same kind of thing again. Except a little less liberal with the application. I'm going to be using Thunderhawk Blue here. a slightly lighter blue-gray than the last blue-gray. All right. And the goal is just to, sorry, my head's in the way. The goal is to just paint basically inside the previous airbrush marks. To give us a nice gradient. Oops. All right. So you can see the effect starting to come in, starting to look pretty good. See if I can get my rhino. Alright, onto the Tactical Marines. Same kind of thing. Just a little bit of this brighter color to highlight certain areas. Maybe I should be wearing a GoPro. I keep sticking my head under the camera. All right. So I'm going to put the airbrush away for now, as I will be moving on to a bit of edge highlighting with a brush.
Means I can take off my mask here. All right. And I'm going to be starting with my Leviathan class dreadnought, which actually is you can see there's still a bit of a gloss to the paint that I put down, which means it's not fully set yet. So I'll just wait a little bit, see if I can get this to dry better before I start coming in with a brush, because that will likely tear the under layers. But in the meantime, I can kind of point out what I painted yesterday, and so that you can kind of see where it's going. This model that I painted last time is pretty ornate, and so there's not as many flat panels. Alright. there's not as many flat panels like there are on the Leviathan Dreadnought. So you'll notice that I did a lot more like gradients and such on the flat panels to make them a bit more interesting. But you'll kind of see the end effect, which is that, you know, after I do the lightest blue edge highlight, I'll be coming in with the Dark Angels green contrast paint to tint everything green. And you end up with this like this really dark green armor. That looks pretty good. Let's see if I can get this edge highlighting started without destroying my progress. I just want to outline kind of all the big armor plates. There's a lot of really good detail on this model, so we want to make sure that you can see it. Make sure that the detail kind of pops off the model. Let's see here. Using a incredibly fine-tipped brush. Oh, and of course I started on the wrong armor panel. It's okay, I'll have to do that one eventually. And this color is a bit bright, but it'll get knocked back when I apply the contrast paint. These parts are those parts were particularly hard to highlight because of because they weren't on an edge. Got to show off how bad my brush control is. These parts a lot easier as long as you hold the brush at the right angle. How does someone get better at brush control? You're right, it is pretty necessary. And sadly, the answer is you just have to practice. In my case, it's also a bit harder to do like on stream. Because as you've been noticing while watching, I want to get much closer to my mini, and so my head ends up just getting in the shot, which is tough. Yeah, get good essentially. It's tough that's the answer, but one way that you can help is consistency. So if you notice, I rotate the model a lot, and that's I'm doing the same motion with my hand all the time. And so when you get that repetitive motion in, build that muscle memory, it helps you build that brush control faster. Yeah, so I'm always kind of doing the same kind of motion, and that tends to help. But yeah, other than that, just practice. And intentional practice. So like, you can paint, and you can paint, and like not care about your brush strokes. But taking the time to intentionally try to control your brush strokes is a good way to do it. It takes a lot more mental energy, I'll say. Sometimes you do just want to sit down and paint something and not think too hard about what you're doing. But if you take the time to really put in the effort to try and control your brush strokes, it helps you build up that control faster. So try hard, get good, essentially. Yeah. And like one thing, if you'll notice, a variety of models helps. So like, this tactical marine has a lot of cylinders, essentially. So if you're only painting tactical marines, you'll get really good at like highlighting cylinders. Whereas this has a lot of flat armor plates, where you can't always hit it with the side of the brush. You have to come in and paint the lines like freehand, which is a lot harder, and it's a different skill. So painting a variety of models also helps. Also, having the correct tools helps. Having a brush with a nice tip is very helpful. Essentially, if you don't have a brush with a good tip, you will eventually be limited by your tool, right? There will be a certain point where you just can't paint a finer, more controlled line, simply because your brush isn't good enough. It has nothing to do with skill. So while you don't have to buy the fanciest, most expensive brush, you do need a brush with a certain fine tip. Otherwise, you'll just be held back by the tools that you have. Too bad the fine details come at the end of painting. Yeah, that's kind of why you have multiple brushes. Generally, if you have a really fine tip brush, you want to save it for doing the fine detail, because it will wear out eventually, like no matter how well you take care of it. So yeah, generally having a less fine tipped brush that you use for like base coating, shading, that kind of thing is better, so that you don't, you know, ruin, or I don't want to say ruin, more like you don't use up your nice brush before you get the chance to use it, you know, for fine detail. Yeah, I have multiple brushes here. I have like I have my super fine brush, and then I have my middly brush, which is like pretty good, still comes to a nice tip. And then I have like my mixing brush, where I use this to get out and mix paints. And then I also have like my I really don't care brush. And I use this for like, you know, like if I need to clean out my airbrush and I need like a brush to do that, I'll use that one. That kind of stuff. I'm actually gonna take this part off. Get some of the finer detail on these inside pieces a little bit easier. That's another thing that helps. It doesn't help with brush control per se, but it helps you get those finer detail lines. If you kind of paint in sub-assembly, where you like magnetize things, it can kind of help you get access to parts of the model that are hard to reach with your brush. Okay, the harder it is to reach with your brush, the much harder it is to paint those fine lines. Yeah, if they're hard to reach, they're hard to see. So yeah, you don't need to spend as much time on them if you don't want to. But it does help, like the overall look of your model. If someone's like holding it and looking at it, it helps if everything's painted to the same level. So If you like really nicely edge highlight, you know, all the pieces, and then there's a few parts that aren't highlighted the same way. It does allow for more flexibility and mistakes. You don't have to paint it as well if you don't want. There are some parts where you actually just won't see them, so you don't need to paint them at all. And that's definitely something to plan for if you are going to do sub-assembly, is you need to kind of make note of parts of the model that won't be seen at all, because you don't want to spend time painting those. Although there's a subreddit called I think it's r/the Society of Hidden Paint, where people take great pride in parts of the model that they paint that will never see the light of day. It's a pretty fun subreddit, because you get people that are painting parts of their model to a really high degree, that no one will ever see, because it's like hidden on the inside of the model. You get a lot of like the interior of tanks. So like Games Workshop does model like the inside of like the Rhino. I actually had to glue my door shut because it kept popping open. But there is, you know, good detail inside the tank that some people will paint, even though no one will see it. And so they like to post it on that subreddit so that at least someone will see it and appreciate it. Even if after you close it up, no one will see it ever again. This model is taking a bit longer to edge highlight than I thought. Based off the Contemptor that I did yesterday, this guy has a lot more detail that needs highlighting than the Contemptor. Mostly because he's bigger, a bit thicker, got some more armor plates. Take this guy's arm off too. That's a really tight fit. Almost makes me think I didn't even need to magnetize it. Could have just left it as a friction fit. But I'm sure it'll wear down eventually. There we go. That one I did pretty good. Unlike some of the, I guess I maybe needed a warm up. I should paint a warm up model before I paint the models that I like, so I get some some practice. So yeah, a bit of lore about the Dark Angels, and kind of, you know, one of the reasons why I chose to collect the Dark Angels army. Besides the fact that I collected Dark Angels as a kid, and nostalgia, lol. They pre Horus Heresy, they were the first Legion, and so they got like all of the experimental tech kind of went to the Dark Angels. They got like dibs on it, and so they tended to have like the super dangerous experimental weaponry that other chapters didn't get. And they were also kind of tasked with all the extremely dangerous missions that like nobody else wanted. So like hunting down dangerous monsters, like slaying really dangerous alien races that were threatening the Imperium, that kind of thing. And they were so strong, in fact, that when Horus was kind of planning his rebellion, he planned and sent the Dark Angels on missions towards the outer reaches of the Imperium, so that they couldn't directly oppose him at the start of the Horus Heresy. So yeah, for you know, at least the beginning of the Horus Heresy, the Dark Angels weren't even there because they were kind of sent out on a mission to take out I believe they were sent on a mission to take out an alien race that was kind of threatening the Imperium at the time. And then they heard about the Horus Heresy and they were like, is it really a big deal? Like, they didn't have, direct intel. And so, another reason why it took so long for them to enter the fighting. Everything was in disarray, and so it was kind of hard to get exact intel on what was going on. They came into contact with the first heresy chapter that they ran into was the Night Lords. And the Night Lords, at least at that time, didn't have the chaos transformations that other chapters had. Some, depending on the which chaos god they followed and how directly linked they were to that chaos god, the Space Marines would transform and mutate into monsters, and they would have demons fighting alongside of them. The Night Lords didn't have that as much, at least at the start of the Heresy. So the Dark Angels and the Line in particular were like, is this really a big deal? We're just kind of fighting our own our friend. We're just kind of fighting other Space Marines, and so he didn't really fully understand the gravity of the situation until he got deeper and deeper into the Imperium and back towards the other loyalist legions. But yeah, kind of as soon as they finally figured out, and they were like, oh no, this is pretty bad. They were able to kind of come in with the full force of the First Legion and help end the heresy. Another reason why they, were stalled out a little bit is because they had to deal with a rebellion, so to speak. The Dark Angels chapter split in half. Where half the Dark, or I don't know if it was exactly half, but half the Dark Angels joined the Chaos side of the Heresy, as one of their commanders was corrupted by Chaos during the Heresy, and so they had to fight themselves as well, which is tough. One of the main reasons that they got corrupted was because their home world, Caliban, was being, after it joined the Imperium and became the home world for the Dark Angels. It was a forest world, but the forests and such were being destroyed to help to help, build factories and such to supply the Dark Angels and provide resources for the Imperium. And so some Dark Angels were pretty mad at how like their homeworld was being destroyed. Part of the reason why they defected, Chaos was kind of took that as a foothold to begin their corruption. Which is too bad, because eventually, because of the Horus Heresy, Caliban was destroyed completely. So, and I believe it was destroyed by Chaos. So, the Marines that were kind of fighting to protect their homeworld kind of ended up destroying it, which is tough. But that's how it goes sometimes. Alright, this guy is edge highlighted, at least to the degree that I want to do right now. So I'm going to start moving on to like my Rhino. And for this guy, actually, I'm going to use a bit of a less precise brush, because it doesn't have as many small edges that require kind of the precise brush, so I can go a bit faster with a bigger, less precise brush. And any parts that require the more precise brush, I'll leave for later. Just do those at a different time. Luckily, the Rhino is kind of just a big box. Lots of very simple shapes. But yeah, back to kind of the lore and such. I told you that they got kind of all the experimental, dangerous tech. So Dark Angels tend to have a lot of plasma weapons, as plasma weapons are quite dangerous, especially the Heresy era ones. And so that's reflected in the models, especially the Legion specific models for the Dark Angels. They have this squad called the Deathwing Interrupter Squad, and they have they're essentially plasma flamethrowers that are pretty cool. Pretty dangerous too. So it's cool that they were able to, kind of reflect the lore in the models themselves. I appreciate that they, that they took the time to do that. And also, it makes the choices easy for when I'm building things. It's like I have a choice between weapons, and it's like, oh, one option is a plasma gun. Obviously, I'm choosing the plasma gun. There's actually no choice in the matter. But yeah, I was also able to 3D print some like custom Dark Angels things. So it's like the side doors have the Dark Angel symbol on it. The top doors have the Dark Angel symbol on it. For my tactical Marines, I was able to print out like shoulder pads, like Dark Angel shoulder pads and helmets. So I'm pretty excited about these models because of kind of the level of customization I was able to add to them. Kind of spice them up a little bit. Make them more unique. Oops. Alright, let's see here. What did I miss? The top. Maybe the bottom of these right here. This indented side panel needs a little bit of love. I think I'll switch to my finer brush for the top. Seems like it'd be a little bit harder to do with my less precise brush. All right. Mostly I just want to highlight this top door because again, like I said, I 3D printed this custom Dark Angels top door. So I want to make sure it's well highlighted. Alright, and that's the Rhino done. I think at this point, I'll take this opportunity to go back to the airbrush real quick and get my Rhino and my Leviathan Dreadnought greenified.
I thought I made enough. Apparently not nearly enough. And there we go. We have a nice dark teal armor for our Leviathan Dreadnought. Same kind of thing for the Rhino. Kind of come in blast the whole thing. And we have the nice dark teal rhino as well. I like doing that step because it's a really quick step that really does a lot for the model, and like bringing all the colors together. Turning it into the actual color that I want it to be. And it's a super quick step, so it's very satisfying to do.
All right, back to edge highlighting. Now these guys, they're actually, as I said before, they're mostly cylinders, so I'm actually not sure how much edge highlighting I am gonna do. Maybe I'll just leave them like this. Do they really need to be edge highlighted? I don't know. They're very sleek models. I'll just blast them with the Dark Angels green and
see how it looks. All right. That's the Tactical Marines done. Tactical Marines and my fingers. Green. Check on how our Leviathan Dreadnought's looking. Pretty good. I've been thinking about, what to do with these large flat panels. Thinking maybe I'll try to freehand something, but I don't have any ideas yet. Definitely gonna have to paint some checkers because that's a big staple of the Heresy era Dark Angels is the checker patterns that they put on their armor.
Now, I'm going to start painting some of the metallic, but I'll have to look at some references to see what is painted in kind of a bare metal kind of look, so I can decide, what I think looks good. These, however, for sure going to be painted bare metal so that I can do the the heat stain effect that I think looks really cool. Luckily, this guy is pretty armored, so it looks like most of the model will stay this dark green armor, which means I don't have to paint a lot of metallic, which is nice. Means most of my work is already done. Now I'm going a bit quickly and a little sloppily, but most of the stuff that I'm getting extra metallic paint on will just be black, so I can touch that up pretty easily. I'm not super worried about it. The main goal is just to get down the metallic paint where it needs to go, and I'll just do the touch-ups later. I think this is actually looking pretty good right now. Like I said, I'll have to check some references to see, you know, where some other metallic parts might be, and you know, obviously I have to do the arms that I took off. But I think I'm leaving this in a pretty good spot. And I think I'm gonna end my stream here for today. Thanks everyone for hanging out. And thank you, Noctis Lucas, for the follow. I appreciate it. Hopefully you can stick around. I'll be streaming again tomorrow from noon to 2, same time as today, and I'll be painting my Dark Angels again, doing a little bit more than just the dark green armor. But yeah,